All right, thank you,
Karibu
Fred.
sana mdosi.
And Monica, perhaps you can tell us why this is important.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is an actual privilege not only to be here as part of Nation Media Group, representing my group CEO, Mr. Stephen Gitagama, but to also be female and to facilitate and ensure that these conversations are not had in the privacy of women's conversations. And so it gives me great pleasure, first to thank Honorable Cicely Kariuki, who at her time did a lot for this particular subject, but also for people like Janet Mbugua, Eric Simba, James Atito, Megan White, Rajiv, very many people who now see this issue not just as a matter of a conversation that needs to be had elsewhere, but one that needs to become mainstream. And that is the particular reason for which, at Nation Media Group, changing cycles for us is not just an event. It's not a thing we discuss today and forget about. It's an issue we carry out of this room. Because, and for this reason, when we sat down and thought about this topic, the issue about menstrual equity is a big one for us. However, it's one, when you're at a media house, I think we were discussing with Janet, you have to convince a lot of people that it's a subject that is important. And you will hear a lot of statistics this afternoon, and I'll not go into them. But the reason that Nation Media Group sees this as important is because we have a platform. We have voices that are doing things that nobody really never gets to hear of. So as Nation Media Group, we can amplify these voices. And so with changing cycles, we intend to have this as a platform and an event that focuses on promoting period awareness and empowering and ensuring education for communities that need to hear this message, but also for communities that need to understand that we know about them, we know they exist, and we are finding partners, many of you who are seated here, to ensure that this just doesn't become their problem. And we aim to tackle challenges of period poverty and generate public interest and support and create momentum, not only for policy level, but also for people who produce products, and for also girls who need to be empowered, and to ensure that we are able to promote gender equality and social justice. As we think about what period poverty is to you and me, I am female. Most of you seated in this room are female. Muitiriri can joke a lot and say about his daughters, who will soon get into the adolescent cycle. But this is the question, is that while they may have an opportunity to go to school comfortably because they can afford, there are girls in this country who do not have that opportunity. And so what we aim to do with this platform is to ensure that young girls and women who face this challenge are able to find solutions. But what we also try to do at Nation Media Group is to give these stories a human face. A lot of times you hear about statistics being thrown around. 1 million girls cannot go to school because of periods. There are faces behind these people. So first and foremost, our commitment as Nation Media Group is education. It's to sit with people who work with those communities, who create those products, who see these challenges. We are not subject matter experts as Nation Media Group, but we do have platforms that can amplify these voices. We do have platforms that can bring many of us together to address this issue. From education, what we would also like to see is a driving of policy. What needs to change? Has government done enough? I mean, we have Cicely seated here with us, but is that enough? How can we influence policy? And in conclusion, let us remember, and I keep saying, that menstrual equity is not a distant dream, but is an urgent necessity. And by addressing period poverty, we can create a more just and equal society where all girls, not just those of us in this room that can afford to be sat here because we were invited or because we had ability or funds to be able to come here, but we can also flourish. The solutions exist, so it's fantastic. I think when you find a moment, please walk out and see what people are doing in terms of providing these solutions. The solutions exist through education. There are people who are driving for affordability. There's policy advocacy, community engagement, and collaboration, which is what we are nurturing here today. because there's nothing as good as nurturing the future of a girl so that no girl is held back by biology. So together, let us work tirelessly to end period poverty. And together, let's join Nation Media Group in this cause. And to finish, as I give the remarks of my boss, those were his written remarks. So let me bore you with the traditional, those were my boss's remarks. I facilitated him to write them. No, I shall not do that. There are people who look very, very worried that I might go into another 20 minutes. But to finish, because a lot of times as women in certain causes that we pick, and as there are men who also support us, sometimes we feel alone. Sometimes we feel like nobody understands that I have a bad mood every month because of something I don't necessarily have control of. That I have to be so careful every time in a month that when I wake up, I wonder what has it flowed out. And I have a choice of getting a tampon, a better pad. But there's a girl out there who every month chooses a few days that they do not go to school. And so even as we trudge along and even as we try to make sure that these solutions you're providing you as our partners and these things we're doing as Nation Media Group, I end with a quote from Hillary Clinton. Never stop believing that fighting for what's right is worth it. And I repeat it again. Never stop believing that fighting for what's right is worth it. So thank you very much for joining us as we begin and as we continue the conversation around changing cycles. And we pray that by the time you're done with today, you'll find someone in your table. You'll find someone across the aisle. You'll reach out to someone else who you could not have met, save for the fact that Nation Media Group put this event together. And once you harness that power of collaboration, then we can sit here next year and say that number was 1 million. That number is now down to 900,000. That number is now down to, they're not missing 4 days of school. We've made sure this school, and the other. That's what we hope will happen as Nation Media Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Monica, for those remarks. And clearly, the Nation Media Group is putting its money where its mouth is. And you know that is where they're committed. It's easy to talk, right? But taking that first step, making that contribution, however little it is where we make all the difference. And even the staff of the Nation Media Group just this week on a Thursday donated sanitary towels out of their paychecks, out of their personal collection, for use by girls in a school in Dagoretti South. So makofi kwa Nation Media Group.
Kidogo sababu ni Nation inapigiwa makofi na hapo ndipo tunapata unga kidogo tusiende kupigwa nje. Na mdosi yuko hapa tumpigie makofi ya kilo mazuri si ile ya chifu hiyo makofi mabaya hayo. Nishikieni